In June 2015, Dr. Ravi Jayaram, a senior doctor at the Countess of Chester Hospital in Chester, England, became concerned over the surge of unexplained deaths of newborns in the neonatal intensive care unit. He brought this to the attention of the hospital's senior director of nursing in the fall of 2015, but he said his concerns were overlooked. Then again, in February 2016, he alerted the hospital's medical director of more suspicious incidents. He tried to request a meeting with the director, but was ignored for 3 months. We were getting a reasonable amount of pressure from senior management at the hospital not to make a fuss, he said during the trial. In June 2016, an entire year after Jayaram's first complaint, the hospital finally launched an investigation, and it led to one nurse, Lucy Letby. Welcome to History's Biggest Villains. In July 2016, the neonatal unit of the Countess of Chester Hospital stopped accepting premature infants born before 32 weeks, partially due to an unexplained high mortality rate in 2015 and 2016, instead sending them to other hospitals in the northwest of England, such as Alderhay. The Embrace UK, which is an acronym for Mothers and Babies, Reducing Risk Through Audits and Confidential Inquiries Across the UK, that's a mouthful, reported that they had found a neonatal death rate of at least 10% higher than the expected period from June 2015 to June 2016. A series of investigations was initiated to determine the reasons for the sharp rise in mortalities, with an independent review being carried out by the Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health and the Royal College of Nursing. Despite this report finding some staffing levels inadequate, the Foundation Trusts were unable to identify the fundamental cause of the high mortality rate, with the independent report similarly finding no single cause or factor identified to explain the increase seen in the mortality numbers. In May 2017, the Foundation Trust brought in Cheshire Police to assist with the ongoing review, stating that this was to seek assurances to enable us to rule out unnatural causes of death. Lucy Letby was born on January 4th, 1990 in Hereford, England. She was a registered nurse who had originally worked in the neonatal unit of Countess of Chester Hospital from 2011 to 2016, later being moved to clerical duties from 2016 to 2018. She had worked at the hospital since 2011 after graduating with a nursing degree from the University of Chester earlier that year. She had also worked on the unit as a student nurse during her 3 years of training. Letby was working in the neonatal unit at the time the high infant mortality rates occurred there from 2015 to 2016, having been appointed as a designated nurse for several of the babies. On February 6, 2012, Letby appeared in a photo holding a baby as part of a story on a resident who had donated money to the hospital's appeal. On March 28, 2013, Letby was the subject of a short interview about her job, in which she stated that her role at the hospital involves caring for a wide range of babies requiring various levels of support, and that she enjoys seeing them progress and supporting their families. She also revealed that she had recently completed a placement at Liverpool Women's Hospital. A photo of Letby holding a baby girl was featured alongside an interview in an article published in the Standard newspaper. In 2013, Letby was part of a campaign to raise £3 million in 3 years to create a new neonatal unit for the hospital, which she hoped would provide a greater degree of privacy and space for parents and siblings. Letby was still working at the hospital at the time of her arrest in July of 2018, though she had been moved from the neonatal unit to desk duty, where she would not come in contact with children after consultants from the hospital suspected the high infant mortality rates between 2015 and 2016 were not medically explicable and were the result of the actions of Lucy Letby. On July 3, 2018, Letby was arrested by police on suspicion of 8 counts of suspected murder and 6 counts of attempted murder, following a year-long investigation into the high infant mortality rates at the Countess of Chester Hospital. Letby's home in Erin Avenue, Hereford, was searched by police following her arrest. After the arrest of Letby, the investigation was subsequently widened to include Liverpool Women's Hospital, another location that Letby had worked, though no evidence that patients at the hospital came to any harm was found during the investigation. She posted bail on July 6th as the police continued their investigation. She was rearrested on June 10th, 2019 in connection with 8 alleged murders and 9 alleged attempted murders of babies, and again on November 10th, 2020. On November 11th, Letby was charged with 8 counts of murder and 10 counts of attempted murder. She was denied bail and remained in police custody. Letby's trial began at Manchester Crown Court on October 10, 2022 before Mr. Justice Goss, and is due to conclude after 6 months, which is not too far away, by the way. She pleaded not guilty to 7 counts of murder and 15 counts of attempted murder relating to 10 babies. The alleged victims could not be named in reports and were referred to as Child A to Child Q. The families of the alleged victims and Letby's parents attended the trial. The prosecutor, Nick Johnson, KC, said that Letby was a constant malevolent presence in the hospital's neonatal unit, and that Letby had searched for the parents of several babies on Facebook, 2 of which were the parents of an alleged victim, as well as sending one family a sympathy card. It was alleged by the prosecutor that Letby had injected air into the bloodstream of 2 of the victims and had used insulin to murder others. A mother of one of the victims said that she had walked in on Letby trying to kill her baby, with Letby allegedly saying, "Trust me, I'm a nurse," when she was interrupted. It was also revealed during the trial that Letby had to be told more than once not to go into a room where the parents of one of the babies she was accused of murdering were grieving. Letby's defense lawyer, Benjamin Myers, KC, alleged that Letby was a dedicated nurse in a system which has failed, claiming that the prosecution's case was driven by the assumption that someone was doing deliberate harm combined with the coincidence of certain occasions on Miss Letby's presence, and alleged there had been a massive failure of care in a busy hospital neonatal unit, far too great to blame on one person. It was alleged that extraordinary bleeding in a baby boy allegedly murdered by Letby could have been caused by a rigid wire or tube, and that one of the babies who survived had an extremely high dose of insulin. The use of insulin at the hospital was denied by Letby's colleagues. The court was shown texts by Letby to her friends, one of which discussed the baby deaths, which Letby described as sad and cruel and heartbreaking, later adding, "It's not about me or anyone else. It's those poor parents who have to walk away without their baby. It's so unbelievably sad." Letby had also told a colleague that taking Child A to the mortuary was the hardest thing she ever had to do. Ravi Jayaram, a pediatrician at the hospital she worked at, said he personally witnessed Letby standing over an infant with the baby's breathing tube dislodged. He said that she stopped and watched as the baby's blood oxygen levels dropped at a dangerous rate, prompting him to intervene and administer CPR. The infant died 3 days later. Another doctor attending the trial said that Letby, in relation to one of the premature babies, told the doctor, "He's not leaving here alive, is he?" an hour before the child died. On the 4th day of the trial, the prosecution showed the court an alleged confession on a post-it note from Letby, which reads, "There are no words. I am an awful person. I pay every day for that. No hope. I can't breathe. I can't focus. I'll never have children or marry. I'll never know what it's like to have a family. Kill myself right now. Overwhelming fear. I haven't done anything wrong. Police investigation. Forget. Slander. Discrimination. Victimization. Despair. Panic. Fear. Loss. Hate," in all capital letters. "Hate myself so much. All getting too much. Everything taking over my life. I feel very alone and scared. What does the future hold? How can I get through it? How will things ever be like they were? They won't. I don't deserve to live. I did this. Why me?" in all caps. "I killed them on purpose because I'm not good enough to care for them, and I am a horrible and evil person. I don't deserve mom or dad. The world is better off without me. I am evil. I did this," in all caps. The defense argued that the note was the anguished outpouring of a young woman in fear and despair when she realizes the enormity of what's being said about her in the moment to herself. Give me a break. And said Letby had written it when she was dealing with employment issues, including a grievance procedure with the NHS Trust. Several other post-it notes from Letby were shown in court, 2 of which respectively said, "Why/how has this happened? What process has led to this current situation? What allegations have been made and by who? Do they have written evidence to support their comments?" and I haven't done anything wrong and they have no evidence. Why have I had to hide away? Both of which were Letby expressing frustration at the fact that she was not allowed back on the neonatal unit. Yeah, because all of the babies are dying while you're on shift, of course. During the trial, she started crying in court as a doctor gave testimony about a child she allegedly attempted to kill. The doctor, who wasn't identified for legal reasons, testified in Manchester Crown Court that he cared for the infant in the early morning hours of April 10th, 2015, the day after prosecutors say Letby tried to murder the child, who was born premature with a fatal dose of insulin, the BBC reported. The doctor said the infant's blood sugar levels had dropped and were lower than what I would have wanted, he said. It was important to prevent those levels from dropping further because low blood glucose levels in a baby can cause seizures, he said. It's damaging to a baby. If it falls to a much lower level, then it can cause liver damage and brain injury. The child survived the alleged assault and left the hospital the following month. When the doctor confirmed his name with the court just before testifying, Letby became visibly upset, leaving her seat and walking towards the exit door. Letby had a conversation with a court officer and her lawyer before she went back to her seat. Text messages between Letby and colleagues after the infant's death were also shown to jurors. "We had such a rubbish night," said Letby in one text exchange. "Our job is far too sad sometimes." The colleague replied, "No, what happened?" "We lost child D," Letby texted. "What?" the colleague responded. "But she was improving. What happened? Want to chat? I can't believe you were on again. You were having such a tough time." Letby is currently on trial right now and she's facing life in prison. I mean, all the evidence that's being presented makes it pretty hard for me to not find her guilty, because if you were not guilty, why would you write an entire note saying that you killed the children on purpose? Why would you cry when the doctor brought up the name of the child that you allegedly tried to kill? Why would you say things like, "Oh, it's so bad. Why are you texting your colleagues about how we're losing children and it's so sad? And why is it that all these children just magically started to die while you were on shift?" Just seems really fishy to me. That's all I'm gonna say. It seems really fishy. But again, the trial is not over. Still has a month or so left to go. And we will see what the results are in court. I mean, do you believe she's guilty? I mean, I do, but we have to wait for the trial to end before we know for sure. But then again, who knows? This might just be a big cover-up from the hospital, because most times these hospitals, they don't want to get sued. They don't want any litigation. So they hide incidents. I still find it funny how it took over a year to really investigate. The first time that someone comes to you and says that kids are dying on someone's shift, that should prompt an investigation in my book. You should immediately look into that. You shouldn't brush it off as just someone just trying to complain. You should look into that. But again, what do I know? But thank you again for watching. I really appreciate all the people that support this channel, man. I appreciate y'all. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my Discord. Check out all my links in the description. Drop a comment on who you want me to make a video about next. But thank you so much. I'm out. Peace.